Yo, yo, it's episode 42 of Bonfire Man. Here's how Bonfire Man works. I'm locked to specific chunks in the game. I have to interact with everything in my unlocked chunks exactly once. So that means every tree needs to be chopped, every enemy needs to die, every resource needs to be consumed. When I interact with something, it is exhausted. When something is exhausted, that means I'm not allowed to interact with it again. I'm allowed to randomly unlock a new chunk whenever all of the entities in my current chunks have been so exhausted. When I enter a new chunk, I rest at a bonfire, as in the Souls games. Resting at a bonfire refreshes or unexhausts all of the content in previous chunks that I've already been to. Now I have to exhaust all entities in both the old and new chunks to continue to progress. My objective is to unlock every chunk in RuneScape. According to my estimates, I think that's going to take about 10,000 hours to complete. If you're interested in all the specifics, minutiae, minor rules, exceptions, that kind of a thing, there's a Google Doc in the description that lists all of that. Let's go ahead and get to the playthrough. Alright, so today we rolled the Barbarian Outpost. The way we get there is via the Games Necklace. I have enough Games Necklaces that I felt comfortable adding this as a rollable chunk. I'm going to teleport there here in a second. We'll cross the fog wall during the teleport animation, and then I'll light the bonfire. Give me a sec to set that up. All right, here is our Games Necklace. We're going to Barbarian Outpost, so let's go ahead and cross the fog wall. Here we are. Very cool. And let's light the bonfire. And of course, we have to rest to respawn everything. Okay. Here we are. So I'm going to do the objectives overview here in a second for the entire episode. Just talking about what's in Barbarian Outpost. We've got 7 barbarians to kill, which I might not be able to get to most of them because I think most of them are probably inside of the Barbarian Agility course that I can't get to because I can't do Alfred Grimhand's bar crawl for a while. 43 trees, 4 oaks, 8 willows, some shrimp and herring nodes. Barbarian Agility course that I can't do, a medium stash that I will be able to build, and Barbarian Assault, and we have to talk about Barbarian Assault. There's a lot to talk about. I'm probably going to have to rant about that almost immediately after the objectives overview, so lots of preamble today, but let's go ahead and talk about what our objectives are for today's episode. All right, let's talk about our objectives for this episode, and also I'm going to talk a bit about the results of my informal poll that I held last episode. As always, go ahead and click on the time code in the description if you want to skip back to the playthrough. So here's our chunk map. Let's look at 100% completed chunks first. No change here from last episode. When we exhaust everything there is to exhaust in a chunk, it confers some benefits. Big benefit number 1 is we can skip it if we want to. If the content there is boring, I don't have to chop any of the trees or anything like that. But then there's also additional benefits for a handful of skills. We can chop every tree until it turns into a stump. We can fish every fishing spot until it moves. We can pickpocket all NPCs 28 times each. We can mine all shooting stars to depletion, we can run rooftop courses until a Mark of Grace spawns, and we can buy out the shop stock in 100% completed chunks once per cycle. So these are the same perks we were already enjoying last episode, no change at this time. So now let's talk about chunks that we can't 100% complete yet. We're going to start with quest blocked chunks. So the definition for quest blocked chunks is going to change soon. It'll take effect as of episode 46. That will be when we catch up to the recordings. But under the old definition, if a quest starts in a chunk and we can't complete that quest, it blocks us from 100% completing the chunk and from getting all of the benefits that come with that. So this is what the map looks like under the old definition. I'll continue to show this until we get to episode 46. The change here is that our newest chunk, Barbarian Outpost, is blocked by Alfred Grimhand's bar crawl. Now, I'm going to go over the clarifications around quests here in a second, but I just want to point out that Barbarian Outpost, even after those clarifications, would still be blocked by Alfred Grimhand's bar crawl because it blocks access into the agility course area, and there's a bunch of exhaustible nodes there. So yeah, let's talk about those rule clarifications. These are based on the comments y'all provided when I requested feedback last episode. Thank you all very much for sharing your thoughts. It sounds like everybody was on the same page about this. So first off, skipping the bonfire. As of episode 46, quests, stashes, fire pits, and anything else that I haven't thought of that is non-repeatable will no longer be considered when deciding whether a chunk is boring enough to skip the bonfire. I went over the math on this last episode, but the short version is that the account wouldn't be mathematically completable if we didn't make this adjustment. And even with this adjustment, there are still going to be plenty of chunks where we won't be able to skip the bonfire because a quest indirectly blocks us from exhausting some content. The whole situation with Alfred Grimhand in Barbarian Outpost is actually pretty common, so there's still going to be a lot of situations where a quest is blocking us from skipping the bonfire. And then for 100% chunk completion, we're going to be a little bit more restrictive. We're still going to require stashes, fire pits, other one-time tasks to be completed in order for a chunk to be considered 100% complete. And the near unanimous feedback in the comments was that I should still try to account for skill prerequisites on quests when deciding if a chunk is completed. So while we're not going to require actual quest completion anymore to 100% complete a chunk, just because 99% of the time the thing stopping us from completing a quest is other chunk unlocks, we will still need to meet the skill prerequisites. And I think that that's useful because getting to certain skill levels, you want to have as many interesting breakpoints as possible. And a lot of skills don't have that many interesting breakpoints outside of quest prerequisites. Everyone was unanimous on that topic. There was a little bit of disagreement on whether we should also count items for quests and other quest prerequisites. I did some additional analysis on this, just kind of looking at the quests in the immediate vicinity on the map. And I don't think either of these rules are necessary. I think if we require quest prerequisites to be completed as well, that kind of nullifies the whole point of this rule adjustment. Virtually every quest in RuneScape has a laundry list of prerequisite quests that need to be completed, and the thing blocking us from doing those prerequisite quests will again be chunk unlocks, so no reason to do that one. Items, I'm a little bit more wishy-washy on. I'm going to go ahead and not require that we have all necessary items. My reasoning for that is just that there's already a really good chance that the quest is going to block us anyway, like Alfred Grimhand just did in Barbarian Outpost, so we don't need to add another blocker on top of it. I think requiring us to have the necessary skill prerequisites is more than enough. And while I have your ear here, I have one more quick rule clarification, not based on anything from episode 41. So this one also has to do with skipping the bonfire, and this one isn't really a rule change. It's, like I said, a clarification. It's something we've already kind of been doing, but I kind of just want to solidify it for the future so you know what to expect. So right now, whenever we roll a new chunk, we decide whether or not we can skip the bonfire there based on whether there's any new content. And the definition of new content is kind of ambiguous when it comes to combat NPCs. For example, there are a lot of NPCs across RuneScape that are functionally identical. They're degenerate with each other, except they have slightly different names. There are lots of humanoid NPCs that work this way. They either share a drop table with men and women, or they just only drop bones, right? So I've already said that those won't count as new content. If we roll a new chunk that all that's new there is an NPC that only drops bones and is otherwise identical to lots of other human NPCs, it's not going to stop us from skipping the bonfire. But I just want to clarify the exact conditions that would cause an enemy to count as new. So condition number 1 would be that that enemy counts as a Slayer enemy that we previously did not have access to. Something like the jackals or the lizards in the desert would certainly count as new content in that case, even if we don't have the Slayer task unlocked yet. Number 2 would be if the enemy dropped new skilling resources or tools that we previously didn't have access to. So, for example, if we ran into an enemy that dropped a bird snare or a big fishing net, that would definitely count as new content. And number 3 would be if the enemy drops new equipment that is either an upgrade or a side grade. This is the important clarification that I wanted to make here. There are lots and lots of random NPCs that drop random junk that's either fashionscape or doesn't really impact the progression of the account at all. And it would be a pretty big bummer to spend 60 hours on a cycle because we killed a humanoid NPC that drops some pants that don't do anything, right? So another way to state all of this is that if a chunk contains a new enemy that is not a new Slayer creature, doesn't drop any new resources, and it doesn't drop any equipment upgrades or side grades, it's not going to contribute to forcing the bonfire to be lit. And I'm going to be pretty liberal in my definition of side grade here. The Penance Runner hat from Barbarian Assault is arguably a side grade because it's a decent defense upgrade whenever you're in magic or range, since it doesn't have any penalties to those. I really just want to rule out NPCs that drop something that is just strictly worse than the material we already have. Okay, that's it for rule clarifications. Let's get back to the objectives overview. After our quest blocked chunks, we have skill blocked chunks. We need 82 construction to build master stashes, which will probably never happen on this account. That's just going to block these chunks from being 100% completed. It's no longer going to impact skipping the bonfire. And we need higher agility levels to complete the rooftop courses in Falador and Polnimnich, 50 and 70 respectively. Also not going to happen for a while, I think. After skill blocked chunks, we have item blocked chunks. We can't complete these because we need tools to do skilling tasks. We need a bird snare and a big fishing net to complete the Soul Isle chunks listed below. And then finally, chunk blocked chunks. We can't complete these because there's content on the edges that we can't reach yet. So once we roll some of the adjacent chunks, we'll be able to finish these ones up. And that's it for the overview. Let's go ahead and get back to the playthrough. All right, I'd like to give you a bit of a break before I start rambling again here about Barbarian Assault. So let me do everything here that's not Barbarian Assault. I'm going to chop all the trees, kill everything I can kill. I guess I'll start Alfred Grimhand, why not? And I'll report back. All right, fishing is all done. Now it's tree chopping time. My last willow here, make sure I click off of it. Yep. All right, and then 4 oaks. Do the non-regular logs first. I don't think I can get to all 4 oaks. I can't get to the one inside of the course. This sliver of a chunk I'm not going to make rollable, by the way. This is the crash site for Monkey Madness 2. All I could do is get into that little section there. I think that's a one-way shortcut if I recall. I'm going to try to save all my regular logs here. When I do the wood cutting part of the cycle, I end up turning all of them into arrow shafts just to avoid having to bank. And I'm actually running out of regular logs for making planks. So I guess whenever I get a new chunk and I'm able to bank, I'm going to try to bank all of it. Yeah, that agility shortcut requires the grand tree to use. We do technically have a high enough agility level for it. It's 37, but we don't have the grand tree, so we'll still go ahead and make that a sliver chunk since it's inaccessible. Got a shooting star probably coming up soon, so if it happens before I finish, I'll warp over there. Maybe it would be a good chance for me to rant a little bit about Barbarian Assault while I'm doing the shooting star. We'll see how long it takes, though. Waterfall back here is pretty. I don't think I've ever been all the way back here before. Oh, that's weird. There's some like random willows on that island. Huh. All right, so the medium stash is also blocked because it's inside the course. I have fond memories of these planks. This actually should be 4, not 3. I think that like one of the recommendations for a new Iron Man is to just like pick these up and then hop worlds. So I had that happen during a league. Okay, I think I've chopped everything. There are a handful of dead trees in here, but I can't get to them. So I'll have to update the tree count too, because I can't reach those guys. Just gonna do a quick pass and make sure I got everything I'm able to get to. There are a couple barbarians that I can kill, or at least one barbarian I can kill. I think the rest of them are in there though. There's one that walks around out here. I guess I'll just go try to punch that guy. Punching the one barbarian that's attackable. I think all the chickens are in there as well. Killed the one accessible barbarian. So let me update my task list to reflect the stuff that's actually blocked. Okay, yeah, I think I've confirmed I've done everything. So I just have to update the log count. I did just get a shooting star to land, which is perfect timing. I am going to be coming back here, obviously, for Barbarian Assault, but everything that's not Barbarian Assault has been done. Let me head out to this shooting star real fast. All right, popping upstairs. Should be a star here. T3 is like perfect for me. It's the optimal number of stardust. I'm just gonna mine it for a second here before I start ranting about Barbarian Assault. I promise I'll give you the rant here in a second. Okay, I managed to get some chores done. I'm on tier 2 of the star. It's time to rant a little bit. All right, so as we've discussed many times, Bonfire Man is an unusual restriction that's a little bit more complicated than a lot of other restrictions like region or even just regular chunk locked accounts. And so we have to make a specific ruling on a case-by-case basis for most of the skilling content in the game and for all of the mini games. Like we've ruled that Soul Wars, we can get 60 zeal per cycle. Last Man Standing, we can get 7 points per cycle, and so on. So Barbarian Assault is an unusual mini game for a lot of reasons. One reason is that you gain no XP in the minigame. Nothing that happens inside of the minigame affects your account in any way outside of its capability within Barbarian Assault, right? Like XP is disabled, so the only thing you get there is honor points, and the only way to make that affect the rest of your account is to redeem those honor points for rewards. But an important thing to spend honor points on is leveling up the different roles, and leveling up the different roles is, again, contained entirely to Barbarian Assault. It doesn't affect your account in any other way. Other than the Elite Kandaren Diary, I think, as I said last episode, is not going to be relevant on this account. I don't think we will ever get that diary, but if we do, it's going to be in like 7,000 hours or something. So if I went into Barbarian Assault and did 500 games and never spent any of my honor points, I'd probably cap honor, but it wouldn't affect my account at all. Like the difference between doing 0 games and 500 games is nothing as far as the rest of the account is concerned. The next issue with Barbarian Assault is that it's one of like 3 or 4 pieces of content in RuneScape that actually requires dedicated multiplayer to complete. There's a lot of, I would call it puggable multiplayer content, pug being pickup group, where you can just kind of group in with a bunch of randos and complete it just fine. Most skilling bosses are like this. You don't need to coordinate to fight Zalcano or Wintertot or Temporos or anything like that. And most of that content also has a solo option. But you cannot do Barbarian Assault solo. Despite not being terribly difficult, it is very not puggable. And if you try to pug it, if you try to just find random people to join with you, you can expect to sit in the lobby potentially for hours. I've actually had this happen. I've maxed all roles in Barbarian Assault in leagues, and I've done it on my main account and on my group iron. And every time I've at least tried to pug it, and the experience is you sit in the lobby area, you have to be playing at peak time, you can't play on your own time, and you wait until you finally find a group, and then the group does badly on wave 1, and then one person quits, and then the one person quitting causes everyone else to quit. That's just the experience of running it. So there's etiquette around Barbarian Assault, where if you do manage to compile a good group, whether it's a static group of your actual friends or randos that are playing, like, you don't just do one wave or one round. You don't just kill the Penance Queen once and then leave. It's kind of disrespectful to everyone's time when they set aside time to do BA. So that's really bad news for my Bonfire man account, because the obvious restriction that I could go with is to just say I can beat the Penance Queen once per cycle. But that means that if I'm using real life friends or people on my Discord server to help me out, I need to get them coordinated to all be on at the same time, like once every 2 weeks when I do a cycle, which is going to be rough to get. It's hard to like coordinate to get 2 people online at the same time, let alone 5, for something silly like this that's going to be rotating when I'm able to do it, depending on how long it takes me to finish the rest of the cycle. I can't just tell them, hey, every Tuesday at 7 p.m., let's connect and do this, because I might have a cycle that takes me, 3 or 4 or 5 Tuesdays to get to. And I can't meaningfully pug it without being really disrespectful to the group that I'm pugging with. If I just join in with them, we do great, we beat the Penance Queen, and I say, okay, bye, sorry, I'm restricted, right? Not to mention that would like greatly inflate the amount of time it takes me to do anything, because every time I try to find a pug group, I'd probably have to go through the process of sitting in the lobby, sitting in the clan chat or the chat channel for Barbarian Assault, finding a group, having the group fail, going through 2 or 3 failed groups, and then finally getting a group that can kill it, right? So we need to think about how we're doing this from an etiquette perspective and a scheduling perspective. I don't want to grind my upload schedule to a halt because of this silly mini game. And I think there's a way, I have a solution that will still let us do Barbarian Assault and limit the number of rewards I can get from it, so it's not a source of infinite resources. That's the whole point of Bonfire Man, is that resources are finite. We can keep the resources finite, and I can fix the scheduling problem. So my idea is that I can just do Barbarian Assault as much as I want. I could run it 500 times right now. What I'm restricted on is spending honor points. I need to figure out how many honor points I'm going to allow myself to spend every cycle. Probably needs to be a little bit more than what you would get from just killing the Penance Queen once, because there's a lot of variance based on your team performance and that kind of a thing. I would probably base it more around like the cost of a high gamble or something like that. I think that's a very reasonable restriction that still accomplishes the same thing. It just lets me, schedule. It lets me say to my friends, hey, let's run Barbarian Assault for like 4 hours. And then I just hold on to the points until the cycle comes up and I go and I spend it. The other thing I'd like to do, though, is just say that I can freely spend points on role upgrades. The reason for that is that the role upgrades are annoying. Barbarian Assault is kind of bad content. I know people enjoy it a lot and it has some redeeming qualities, but like, it definitely has the feeling of an amateur MMO developer, and that has never returned to the content to improve it, right? As far as I understand it, some of the role upgrades are just flat out bugged. Like leveling up Defender does nothing after level 1. It's supposed to increase the lure radius for runners, but it just doesn't work, I guess. And like the collector role is super janky and weird, and the upgrades are basically pointless for the way people actually do the minigame. Leveling up the roles effectively only really impacts attacker and healer, and it is almost required for healer to even be playable. Like it's kind of offensive to try to pug with people and not have your healer role leveled up, because you can't do anything. So if I am going to be routinely running this, and there's a chance that I'm going to be trying to pug it, which is likely, like I can try to ask the handful of people I have in my Discord to help me out with it, but everybody lives in different parts of the world. The chance that we can align our schedules to all try it at the same time is like vanishingly small. I probably will be pugging, and I'll feel more comfortable offering to pug it if I'm able to say that I can do any role at max level. Also, there's the fact that maxing the roles does nothing for the account other than lets me do the Kandaren Elite Diary. Even if I end up getting that Elite Diary task done, it won't matter for thousands of hours. And if for some reason 7,000 hours from now I'm about to do that diary task and I want to say, okay, let's make up for all that time that I spent getting the points for free to spend on maxing the rolls. Maybe I'll cross that bridge when we get to it, but I don't even think we need to be that complicated. I think I can just say, do Barbarian Assault as much as you want, spend as many points on upgrading rolls as you want. So I think I'm happy with that as a ruling. I'll shop it around a bit to my advisors and maybe mention it in my Discord channel to see if people have ideas. As far as the exact number of honor points I should be limited to, I think 500 makes sense for the high gamble, but the problem with that is that the low gamble and medium gamble tables are technically different, and there's something I want on all of those tables. Yeah, on the low gamble table, I want Flax, I want the Rune Axe, I want Blue Dragon Hide, I want Cosmic Runes, I want Chaos Runes. On the medium gamble table, I want Red Dragon Hide. I want Teak Planks too for medium gamble. We have part of the Bonfire Man philosophy is to do as much content as possible and specifically do weird content that nobody does. So in real life, on a main account, if you're going to do gambles at Barbarian Assault, you're only ever going to do high gambles. You're never going to bother with medium or low gambles. So it would be nice to be able to do one of each every cycle. That's 200 honor for a low gamble, 400 honor for a medium gamble, and 500 for a high gamble. So if I were to just total those, that's like 1100 honor per cycle, which seems, I guess that's a lot, but that's probably only like 2 rounds, like 2 Penance Queen kills. That's so much Barbarian Assault. That's way more Barbarian Assault than I've ever wanted to do. But if the objective of this account is to do weird content and have that weird content produce interesting results, then I think that that's probably worth doing. Okay, yeah, I've done all the math. I think 1100 honor spent per cycle is completely reasonable, where if I want to buy any of the penance gear, like the fighter torso, I have to opt out, basically, of gambling until I've accrued enough per cycle honor to be able to buy that gear outright. So the fighter torso costs a total of 1500 honor across all 4 rolls, 375 times 4. So if I want to get it, then in this cycle, I would have to get my 1100 honor and then just choose not to spend it. And then next cycle, I'd get another 1100 honor for a total of 2200 minus 1500 for the fighter torso. Yeah, so then in cycle 2, I would have 700 honor left over. So in cycle 2, I would be able to buy a high gamble and a low gamble. And then after that, I would just move to gambling because I don't think I want any of the other penance equipment. I might change my mind as I go, but I think the gambles are probably more long-term impactful to the account. The fighter torso is more impactful than the gambles right now. So I'd want to get that first, but then after that, I could just do all 3 gambles from that point forward. All right, first star is done. Let's look for another one. Got a tier 7 shooting star over here. Getting back to work, editing the next episode. Oh, this one hasn't quite despawned yet. It's got like a minute or so left, I think. I've been here over 2 hours, but one just spawned in Soul Wars, so I'm gonna head there now. All right, here, Soul Wars. Somebody else here, but I might roll with it because it might result in more net Stardust. We'll see. All right, that's the end of that star. Only got about an hour and 20 minutes out of it, but that's okay. Got another shooting star. Glorious 2 hours of AFK. Hopefully 2 hours this time. The last one, that other guy showing up, cut some time for me. I've got 3 stars left after this. I'm going to try to get some editing done, some laundry done. I'm going to experiment with something this cycle. I'm bringing my main over here. I need to get as much Stardust as possible. I care about that significantly more than I care about mining XP right now. I want to get my crafting level high enough to make a combat bracelet at 74 and eventually an amulet of glory at 80. And you get the most Stardust by mining the T1 version of the star. So what my objective is here is I'm going to try to use my main to help mine it down to the point where the despawn timer is very close to the depletion timer, right? So that I can mine as much of it at T1 as I possibly can. This clock down here in the plugin tells me how much time I have remaining. Right now, both of us mining is too much, but if I am smart about it, I should be able to get it to the point where it will despawn naturally right around the time I'm done mining the T1 version. So trying that. Okay, I think I helped mine it down almost perfectly. We'll see where it actually ends up. I might need to leave myself a little bit more wiggle room in the future. About to hit mining level 80, which is cool. I'll be able to do tier 8 stars. All right, it just naturally depleted. Perfect. And I got another one already. It's going to be in West Lumbridge Swamp. Heading there now. Oh, never mind. Somebody's here. Really, I just hit level 80 because there's a T8 star here. This will be the one I do. All right, so we have an interesting math problem here. I've got my group iron and my main here. The math problem is I don't want to mine this thing down too early because the fact that it's T8 is insurance against another miner randomly showing up and me not being able to ask them to leave, right? So if I want to try to mine the T1, I want to start doing that as late in the star as humanly possible. So I'm going to have to sit here. I know a little bit about star mining math. I need to calculate when is the latest I should have these two help mine, right? I don't know yet. So what I'm going to try to do rather than doing a complex calculation, I'm just going to wait until I've been at this star for 1 hour. And then at the 1 hour mark, I'm going to have my two alts mine it down and see if that works. At least for a T8 star, I'll have to try it for different stars or different times. All right, it's been about an hour, so I'm going to start mining it with my alts here. Okay, I think I did that almost perfectly. I have about 45 minutes left estimated on the star, and it's going to despawn in about 43 minutes. So we should be good. All right, made it basically perfectly. I'm probably just going to get back to regular mining here. All right, finished my pay dirt for this cycle. I made up for a mistake I made last cycle where I overdid it. Total of 3 golden nuggets, which is not great. We want to be getting about 6. Came over to Camelot to do my farm patches and completely forgot to bring an axe for the trees, so I'll be back for that in a second. But I'm going to harvest these tomatoes. It looks like my Guam leaf died, which is not a shock. And I'm going to do compost. Planting another oak sapling here in Varrock, and I got a yew seed, which is pretty exciting. I don't think I'm going to get 60 farming for a while, but it's a pretty huge chunk of XP if we get it. Hey, so I'm over here in Varrock, walking near the estate agent's house, and was reminded of the fact that I can move my house anywhere now, right? I've kind of had a series of big changes happen in the account whereby I now have plenty of law runes to teleport as much as I like. Yeah, 233 law runes. I get like 50-ish per cycle from Rundoku. I don't need to use a ton of them on construction anymore. So the very short version of what I'm getting at here is that I think now I can start including the house teleport options on the chunk roller. Because yeah, if I end up rolling several of them and have to move my house repeatedly, it's going to cost some money. But the most expensive one is 25k gold. And if I have to spend 25k once per episode, that's very sustainable. We're currently doing great on GP. So that would add Rimington, Taverley, Relica, Brimhaven, which I think we already have, and Yaneel to the chunk roller. So I will be doing that. I think that would be nice. I basically want all of those locations. Relica in particular, that's probably the only way I'm going to get to Relica, to be honest, would be to move my house there and then warp there. Hasidius is not included. It is only rollable, or you're only able to move your house there if you visited Zia at least once. So that is one of our rollable chunks. So if we do roll Zia, then I'll add Hasidius as well. But just wanted to comment on that. We'll talk about it more when we get to the chunk picker this episode. Over here at Soul Wars, I am going to do Barbarian Assault, by the way. Need to schedule it. I need to set aside a ton of time to do it. I'm probably going to try to do it over the weekend. Most of what I do in this account is best served by playing off-peak hours, but I think trying to pug Barbarian Assault I'm going to want to do on the weekend. Today's a Friday for me, so I'll try to do it very soon, hopefully. 26 Zeal, that game went really bad. We were crushed. I know that, like, when you say, hey, I always get matched with the losing team, it's like, what's the common denominator there, bud? But I really don't have the stats or the gear or the tools to contribute. The best thing I can do is build up a big stack of soul fragments, dump them on this when we claim the center thing, and then sometimes if I can make it to the boss, I can do a decent amount of damage on the boss with the colossal blade. But you know, without freezes and crazy spec items and stuff, I'm pretty dependent on my team's performance, and it's not looking great right now. That game went a little bit better, 35 Zeal, but still not great. 35 Zeal plus 26 is 60. That's 61. All right, let's see what we get from the spoils here. All ammo. Okay. This isn't bad, actually, because I'm probably going to end up making diamond and ruby bolts with all those gems I have. All right, not the best pull this week, but, you know, I guess the death runes are going to be good down the line. I'll take it. Actually, I have so many gems from shooting stars. I'll probably almost always have more gems than I have bolts. So I should be able to turn literally all of these. I'll probably turn half of them into ruby bolts and half of them into diamond bolts. All right, got another shooting star. Missed the last wave. All right, finish this star. I got a ton of stardust out of it, despite starting at T4. I have one more star to do Alcreed Mine whenever it spawns. And I think once I'm done with the stars, that's when I'm going to try to earnestly start looking for Barbarian Assault games. I just didn't want to be committed to BA when stars were spawning. All right, got the last shooting star here. Got two people here. One guy is very nice. Chatted a little bit. Thanks, Marth, for not calling the cops on me and bringing in a bunch of other people. But somebody else showed up now, so I'm only going to get another 26 minutes or so out of it. That's okay. Still got over 330k mining XP this cycle, so I think we're looking pretty good. All right, we tapped it out about an hour and 26 minutes. Not too bad. I am going to go turn in all this stardust and see how many gems that produces. All right, redeeming. I have 14,657 stardust. We'll see what that gets us here. All right, there's the guide prices. 1.3 mil worth of gems. In the past, I think it's been around like 900k, so I did quite a bit better on stardust with changing up my strategy a bit there. Crafting, currently projected to have about 6,275 XP banked after I deposit these. 122,000 more XP. That's nice. So yeah, I think it's going to be like 3, maybe 4 more cycles until I can get to 74. 74 is the objective because that gets us combat bracelet. Probably going to be a shit show, but I'm going to attempt to do Barbarian Assault. Let's see what happens here. It's a Friday night, so there's a decent number of people here. We'll see though. All right, starting this. We'll see how it goes. I'm a little nervous. Made it to the boss fight. We'll see how it goes with this pug. This will be my first Penance Queen kill if it goes well. It's not been great so far. Okay, I made it. I ended up doing 3 rolls there. 80 defender points, 5 attacker, collector, healer. I'm going to try to level up if it's going to let me. That would be nice to be a little bit less terrible at these. Yeah, that's the final points from one Penance Queen kill, which is pretty bad. A lot of that was me making mistakes, forgetting how to do it, not having the right weapons, that kind of a thing. If I can level up attacker, I can be a little bit less useless as attacker, but I need to like change my plan here so I can be more helpful. My DPS is really bad. I might need to ask to do attacker early and then offer to swap later. Okay, since I beat the queen, I can buy the granite body, which is an upgrade, so I'm going to go ahead and do that. That's fine and unrestricted. It doesn't require points, just requires 1 queen kill. Looking pretty cool. Looking pretty silly, actually, but I will use that whenever I'm in a defensive situation. In the future, I will probably use the fighter torso for anything else, but if I'm fighting like Onkos or something, I think this thing is strictly better than the rune plate body, so it's cool that I got this before Dragon Slayer. Yeah, rune plate body is worse across the board, and I can't equip it, so let me see what I would actually look like in full melee now. Definitely more flavorful than the rune chain body. And a pretty big upgrade over the rune chain body, right? Let me double check that. Yeah. So this is the difference, right? Slightly worse magic defense, but I shouldn't be using it if I'm up against magic enemies. 24 stab, 12 slash, 1 crush, 32 range defense. I need to sit here and camp Barbarian Assault for a very long time. Right, trying this with range now. Hopefully this goes better. Range is a lot easier to handle the swaps for. I've never done it before. The plugin even like highlights the arrows you need to use. It's great. Yeah, this is so much better with range. I've never done this with range before. I don't know why I ended up always doing melee, but switching arrows is better. You attack faster. If you have any kind of attack damage boost, it's faster. You don't have to use your own arrows. I think that's why I didn't realize that you got arrows for doing it. And I've cleared this like, I've done this like 4 times. I've maxed all rolls. It's wild that I've been doing it wrong the whole time. My current objective is to max attacker if I can, so I can be more useful with it in general. This team is way better than my earlier team. We're actually doing pretty well. I think that deciding to max some of these roles in this first cycle is correct because I am completely leeching on this poor group. They had me switch to healer, and I heal for nothing. I would be a complete waste as a healer if I tried to like do a pickup group, so I'm gonna do my best to max this on attacker so I'm less of a leech. Hey, that went well. We won. That's the Barbarian Assault. I know. I just had my experience of like trying to get a team together and then getting the team together and then doing wave 1 and then someone quitting and having to start all over. And it took me like 15 minutes to get the team together. So this will take a while. Just got attacker level 3, so that's cool. Got another good group at least. I don't know if we'll be able to stick together. Okay, we were able to keep 3/5 of the team, so hopefully it's comparably talented, but that last round went really well. This one's an even better team than we had before. We're going really fast. I hope we can stay together. Got level 4 attacker, 1 more to go. Currently rank 3 defender, which is a waste of points. I don't need to max it, but I'd just like to get everything maxed, so I don't have to worry about that ever again. I should be about to get level 5 defender. I'm going to stay on it until I have enough points for the fighter torso on top of level 5, and then I'll ask to switch, I think. I'm sure I'll come back to the role later, but it'll be nice if I do eventually buy out all of the penance gear, or at least all of the stuff that's potentially relevant, because then I can just work on a single role forever after that. Level 5 defender hype. Only have 1 more game with this group. This group's been amazing, though. This is why I set my restrictions this way, because we've just been able to do a bunch of games back to back instead of like miserably pugging it over and over, you know? But at the end of this game, I think I should have enough points in defender to get the fighter torso. And that's the only thing, the only dedicated item that I'm going for right now. I think I'm just gonna do gambles in the meantime. Defender is mastered. I'm sitting on 500 points. I need 375 for the fighter torso. I still need to finish attacker, but I'm close. I do one more round on attacker and I'll definitely be done and probably have enough points left over for the torso. And I've got a lot of healer and collector to do. As you can see though, I've been at this for like 4.5 hours, so I think I'm going to take a little bit of a break. My objective is to just go so hard on this and burn out on it and have enough points left over that I'm just covered for a few cycles and I don't have to like stress about pugging this. All right, max attacker level. Well, I had to bail on that game because I was trying really hard to teach the defender how to do defender, and I don't know if it's just like English was their second language or they were a small child or something, but they were not responsive. I am mid-wave though, which means I'm going to be able to redeem one of these gambles. And so the math says if I went over this earlier, but if I get 1,100 points this cycle and 1,100 points next cycle, it's 1,500 points across all 4 rolls to get the fighter torso. So 2,200 minus 1,500 is 700 left over. I could redeem a low gamble for 200 and a high gamble for 500 next cycle, which I think I'm going to do, and I may as well do it now since I'm in the middle of the wave. This one only requires queen kills, which sit around, but this one requires you actually be in the middle of waves, so I guess I'll just do it now. All right, here comes a low gamble, first ever on the account. Let's see what we get. A maple seed. It's actually not terrible. Not good either. And it looks like as long as I'm in this, man, the way these gambles work is so weird. I feel like if I have a queen kill, I should be able to do these, but I guess they're assuming that no one is ever going to do them. You know, as much as I hate the defender role, I might end up trying to play defender to farm for points in future cycles just because I can trust myself to do it, and I can't trust any rando. All right, it was rough, but I got another round clear there. I want that team that I was crushing defender on before. That was great. Okay, I got enough points on attacker, enough points on defender, so I have to work on collector and healer. Oh, had someone DC on wave 9. Just hit level 3 healer, which is quite a bit more useful. Getting pretty close to healing. Okay, I need 100 more points to get healing level 4. That's level 4 healer. Nice. Just beat the penance queen, so I've got 500 points in healer. I should be able to max healer. And I'll try to get enough points for the torso, I think, this next run. And then after that, I'm going to try to just go hard on collector. I think I am going to max collector, even though it's completely pointless to have it over with, and I never have to think about it ever again. Yeah, just hit level 5. Cool. We'll do this final round. I might stay on healer and just have healer be a big source of points, but I would still like to switch to collector. We'll see. Okay, finally doing collector. First collector level up. Completely irrelevant. Well, that was an extremely rough team. We did win in the end, but I probably should have just bailed way sooner. All right, rank 3 collector, 2 to go. I wasn't able to find a collector group, but I got a group that let me do defender, which means I have more than enough points to both get the torso next cycle and pay for my high gamble this cycle. So I'm going to do my first ever high gamble on the account. I went ahead and added tasks for these so I can keep track of them here. But yeah, let's check this out. High gamble. That's one of the worst things I could possibly get. 27 diamonds. That's okay though. All right, I've been sitting in this lobby trying to get a collector job for like 10 minutes. Lots of people want to do collector. Probably the easiest role out of the 4. I might need to like give up and try another time. I've been sitting here for like 20 minutes. I cannot get a group. Yeah, I think I'm gonna have to give up. There's so many people calling out collector and nobody using them, so I'll try tomorrow morning maybe. Bye. Just hit level 4 collector. Finally just got a group together myself. Oh man, the team I put together, we managed to beat the penance queen and now we're going again. And I'm hoping this is all I'll ever have to do. Praying that we'll finish PQ this time, and then I guess I might need a few more collector points to be able to get the fighter torso, but then I can just do whatever roll from now on because they'll all be max and I'll just never have to think about it. Technically I'm done with this cycle because I already got my low gamble and high gamble, and I have to save the points from the medium gamble into next cycle to be able to afford the fighter torso, but I just want to get it over with now that I'm thinking about it. Screwing up pause. There it is. Max all rolls. Finally, I need to keep doing collector until I have 375 points for the torso next cycle. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to come short of 375 points. I'm going to have to do collector one more time and just pray that I can keep this group together. As soon as I hit 375, I'm going to swap off of it. I end up running with people that are trying to get the torso, so none of them are willing to level up their healer at all. which makes the healer almost useless if it can only heal for 10. Just got it. Finally done. I'm going to finish this game as collector. May as well. Might actually give me enough points to redeem another item. I'll have to look at the reward table. But I've spent a lot of hours here, but I think it's going to make me less of a leech in the future, and that was very worth doing. I'm glad that it's over. Well, someone in our team bailed on us on wave 7, but I'm just going to keep it for now. Let's go ahead and get this elite diary. You've completed an elite task in the Kandaren area. It's over. It's done. Okay, I need to take a break. I've been playing too much of this. I can't wait to get back to like chopping wood. I'd much rather chop thousands of regular trees and do that. It looks like I killed the queen 20 times, which makes sense. I can't buy this yet. So by skipping the medium gamble, I'm not spending 400 points, which means next cycle I'll have 1,500 points, which I will spend to buy the fighter torso. And then I'm going to have to do some research as to whether I want any of these other items in the future, because I would skip gambles until I get them. I probably want to start doing that before I start doing gambles. I probably should have thought about that before I did a high gamble and a low gamble. And look up how much time I spent. Hold on. Yeah, 12 hours. So in 12 hours, I got 1 maple seed and like 27 diamonds, which apparently doesn't get tracked in the loot tracker, sadly. But I'm sure that there's all kinds of potential from those gambles. There's like 10 or so upgrades on the different tables, so it'll be good going forward. Okay, so I just wanted to show the math here. So I can get 1,100 points per cycle from low, medium, and high gamble. If I skip those gambles, I can spend that 1,100 points on something else. So I could get the fighter hat by itself in a cycle, the ranger hat, the healer hat, the runner hat. I could also get both the penance gloves and the runner boots in the same cycle. Penance skirt I'd have to save for multiple cycles to get. So I'm definitely getting the torso next cycle. The fighter hat is a pretty big upgrade, actually. I'm not going to be able to get the berserker helm because I need to finish Frenetic Trials, and unless if I roll it from the POH, it's probably not going to happen for a very long time. The penance gloves have a weight reduction effect and decent defensive stats for what I currently have access to. I guess I might change my mind about the penance gloves because I'm very close to the combat bracelet, and I'm definitely going to wear the combat bracelet over these gloves, so that might just be a skip, actually. The boots are generally considered bad, but they have a small magic and range attack bonus and a pretty decent defense bonus compared to all the other boots I currently have access to. I don't think I'm going to be getting better boots until I get to like Troll Stronghold, which is probably a very long way off. And the fact that it's only 400 points is pretty attractive. I can just skip the medium gamble and get this and still do a low and high gamble for that cycle. The runner hat is actually kind of attractive, like just as for several reasons. You know, it's not as good for melee because it's all defensive bonuses and the fighter hat has accuracy bonuses, so I would probably use it for that, but it has no attack penalties and it's slightly better defenses in a rune full helm. So it could kind of be my like go-to fashion scape. I think it's appropriate. It's definitely the kind of thing you would see in the Souls games. Goofy eyeball hat with horns. It is a lot of points, though. It would be an entire cycle without something else, which would be kind of a bummer. The ranger hat's also quite decent. Way higher range attack bonus than the coif I'm currently wearing. And I guess what kind of d'hide does it lose to? The ranger hat's probably the best thing I can do until I can get a blessed d'hide hat, which is going to require a hard clue, which I think I have less than a 1% chance of completing with my currently accessible chunks. So yeah, I might bump the ranger hat in priority here. This kind of makes sense to me. Yeah, so I'll get the torso next cycle. I'll get the fighter hat after that, the ranger hat after that, and then I'll get the boots and start doing low and high gambles from that point forward. And then after that, we'll do low, medium, high gamble every cycle. So I'm not going to get any of the other really exciting stuff from that gamble table. There's some really good stuff there. But I think picking up these items early, the fighter hat, the ranger hat, and the boots are probably worth doing, even if it means no interesting rolls per cycle. Okay, I took a long break after all that Barbarian Assault, and I'm ready to get back to the rest of the cycle. I'm actually probably going to do woodcutting super late this time. I don't like doing it late, but I'm going to need the woodcutting AFK later this week and to do it on my phone later. So I think I'm going to start working on fishing and thieving, and I'll do some PDM probably. Went ahead and marked this chunk as done as it's going to be for this cycle, since I can't do most of what's here. Let's go do fishing and thieving. All right, we're doing Temporos. Let's go. I wouldn't say I've mastered Temporos yet, but I definitely don't have to keep the wiki up anymore. I've done the last few cycles with 10 reward permits, so hopefully we can repeat that here. Oh man, just talking about how things are going so well. I did do my numbers right, but I ran to the crate at like 94%, and you have to run at 93%. Bummer. I got a little extra fishing XP because of that mistake, but not a ton. I have no idea who figured out this method or how. I remember doing Temporos closer to launch. I think the big thing people figured out for solos is the ability to get basically 4 attempts to harpoon the spirit pool. That changes everything. The ability to like load the second crate with 6 fish at the end so you get one last swing at them makes it way less tight. Got an extra few thousand XP from making that mistake. It's not a huge deal. All right, what we get? I really would love to get the book, but the chance of it happening is quite low. Basically nothing. I am getting more food though. That's not bad. Should hit 62 fishing. Monkfish eventually. Here in Draenor, finishing up the fishing. I'm gonna go do the rooftop course really quick. We'll see how many marks of grace I get. Never getting that one cycle where I was able to do like 20 laps. This one had spawned on like lap number 7. About to head into the Lumbridge Swamp Caves to fish my 2 spots in there. I usually try to do some PVM while I'm there, like rock salt, but I'm just admiring my character now. What a gear set. I am in boost range to plant these maple seeds, so I'm going to go ahead and do that. Why not? Good amount of XP. One of them I got from Barbarian Assault. I'll probably have to use 2 pies to plant one in Lumbridge and one in Varrock, but that's okay. Actually, never mind planting the maple saplings. I probably shouldn't have wasted that boost to make them because I don't have the oranges to protect it, and I don't feel confident in my ability to babysit the patches. Oh, never mind. I actually do have access to oranges. I just Googled it. There are 10 in the stock of Port Sarum. I guess I need to start buying those every cycle. Yeah, never mind. That's the charter ship. So I'll be able to do it once I get a charter ship, but I currently don't have one. There's a shop in Polnivniche that has 5 oranges in it, so I can only plant 1 tree. Okay. Since that shop stock's not going to refresh because I haven't finished the Polnivniche chunk. I feel like I've had a really weird run of strange plants lately in random events. It's almost 4 in a row. About to hit 61 thieving. There it is. I need 4 more levels to do the summer garden. That's going to take a really long time. All right, buying out 5 oranges. That'll be all I'm allowed to buy. I'm going to add that to my tracker spreadsheet. This is pretty funny. I didn't realize that the mammoths got party hats. What a weird enemy to give party hats to. It's a bummer that Ents can't give teak or mahogany logs. You get a decent amount of other kinds of logs. I got 8 magic logs from this one. That's not bad. Here's the final haul from the Ents in my inventory here. It's pretty good. 32 magic logs. About to hit 79 strength here. I'm going to have 1 more to go. Probably will get it next episode. 79 strength. 1 more. My cat was sitting in front of my mouse, so I couldn't hit record. 73 hit points. All right, planting my first ever maple tree here. Eat half a garden pie, use maple sapling, pay to protect. Cool. And that's the only one I can do until I get access to oranges. Got a genie here. I go ahead and throw that on Hunter. I guess it'll put me just short of a level up if I recall correctly. 6 XP to go. That's okay. All right, getting my large casket of runes here. Pretty good haul. We really want to get more than like 30 law runes where possible, but I'll take 27. That's not bad. All right, this is by far the latest in a cycle I've ever done woodcutting, but I'm going to do woodcutting now because it's the day that I need to do some stream work. So I'm going to start by doing all the rare trees like oaks and maples and willows and that. All right, I'm about to hit 80 woodcutting. I was doing regular trees, so I was about to hit it. I'd rather do it on this magic tree. 80 woodcutting. I should not have picked a magic tree to get my level up there. Just sat on record for like a minute and a half. Heading back to chopping regular trees after finishing up those magic trees. I'm going to check health on this maple tree. 3,403 farming XP. That's pretty good. Really like to be able to plant the other ones. Actually pretty excited to get to 47 farming. Well, actually to 44 because then I can boost to 47. Watermelons I should be able to plant in both my allotment patches. They're actually super useful because I can make super compost out of them and they give a good amount of XP. So yeah, 1 more farming level. Doing 3 Addy Mithril swords, and I am going to continue to do bronze iron swords rather than the mistake I made of trying to make arrows out of it. I don't think that's the way to go. I think I do have a better long-term solution for arrows. I'm going to tell you about that a little bit later this episode. All right, about to hit smithing 74. Yeah, I should stay here for the bronze and the iron. It's worth it, just for the reputation, I think. All right, I was able to get more smithing catalysts this time by making bronze and iron. So I was able to get up to like 60. That's good. We'll keep doing bronze and iron here for sure. I still have a little bit more PVM to do and Sorceress's Guard. And all right, I'm here at the Calphite Queen. Let's see what happens. All right, Queen's down. What do we get?
Drop.
Ooh, prayer potion drop. That's actually really huge. Okay, so the reason that prayer potion drop is so huge is because it's more prayer potion doses than I have career. My only other source of peapots is mammoths, and I did actually get a drop from one this cycle. So I now have a total of 3 3/4 prayer potions. Okay, I am at the end of the cycle. We just have last man standing to do, and last man standing is how I am going to solve my ammo problem. I was talking about how the only things that are really worth buying in the store now that we have the rune pouch. There's the Ring of Wealth scroll, probably isn't worth getting. It would improve the clue scroll drop rate on a handful of monsters that I fight in the wilderness, but if I die with the Ring of Wealth, even if it's protected, I lose it, and that's 5 whole points, it gets destroyed. So I don't think that that's really worth doing. The magic shortbow scroll absolutely will be worth doing, but only when we actually have a magic shortbow, which is a long ways off at this point. The other stuff on this list, just too many points to be worth saving for. So my original intent was to spend all the money on rune arrows to Alk. But if you'll notice, for 1/3 the cost of rune arrows, I can get 350 adamant arrows for 1 point. That's like 2,450 adamant arrows per cycle if I dump all of my 7 last man standing points into addy arrows. And that will help with the fight caves if I have so many addy arrows that I don't worry about running out permanently. It'll help just with range training in general. I want to start focusing pretty hard on ranged, maybe even catch it up to strength, honestly, starting once we hit strength 80. What I'm going to try to do is I'm going to do strength 80, I'm going to do attack 73, and then defense 67. Yeah. And then after that, I'd like to just take ranged all the way to 80. It's going to be good for fight caves. It's going to be good for all kinds of other content. And buying these adamant arrows, I think that we can definitely pay for itself. We can go infinite on it. I doubt I will be using 2,450 adamant arrows per cycle when you account for me picking them up every time I fire them. So yeah, that's the objective. Everything's going to go into addy arrows. Let me go ahead and start doing last man standing. Here's the supply usage now that I'm remembering to do this. Actually got a lot of uses out of Rings of Dueling this time, so that's nice. Actually getting a little bit better at last man standing. I'm still not good at it by any stretch, but I'm actually able to win my first fight occasionally. I'm still gonna hide because it feels like there's not a lot of reason for me to try. I can get plenty of points by hiding, and I can like sit here AFK for a few minutes. But anyway, it feels good to be less bad at PvP. This has been fun. I'm at 6 points here. I'm gonna hit only 7 because this guy found me immediately. Well, worth a try. Yep, he kicked my ass. He had an AGS. That's fine though, I got my 7 points. I'm gonna spend them all on 2,800 adamant arrows. It's pretty good. Alright, that's the end then. So I just gotta sum up the chunk. Time played, 39 days, 3 hours. Live split timer was like 51 hours and 13 minutes. Didn't do any processing this cycle, but I also spent a ton of time in Barbarian Assault, maxing all rolls and getting enough points to be able to redeem the fighter torso next cycle. Here's the major task summary. This logs count, it's a bit lower because I was making up for an error in the prior cycle. I had some logs I had to skip. Fishing, thieving, mining, farming, agility. Did everything in Sorceress's Garden, did everything for construction, bought everything from shops. Skipped the Barbarian Assault medium gamble. I had a note here for doing that. That's so I can have enough points next cycle to be able to redeem the fighter torso. But did everything else on this list here. Still can't do anything on this blocked task list. So I fixed 3 errors I made last cycle, and I made a bunch of errors this time. I completely zoned out while doing Pure Essence and did an entire extra round of it, so I have to only do 3 next time. And then I had a handful of misclicks for like pickpocketing and enemy kills, so I've added those to my list to fix next cycle. And in the optional tasks, I got enough talismans. I was able to make lava, smoke, and steam runes, so my runecraft XP is probably a little bit higher than it usually is. But everything else on here is pretty bog standard for what I usually get to. Let's talk about XP. Okay, here's the XP gain for the cycle. Mining is getting real crazy, like 350k if things go well on every single possible star. Everything else is kind of in line with what we're used to seeing right now. Woodcutting's notably a bit down from making up for some errors last cycle, and also not really getting lucky on depleting certain trees. We usually crest 100k with that. Smithing's up for being able to do adamant, and I'm going to try to keep doing that as often as possible using those catalysts that I've been accruing. Here's the delta, the change in XP gain compared to last cycle. So mining's up by about 30k. Farming's up almost entirely due to planted trees. That maple tree counted for several thousand XP there. I sat on attack for a little bit longer. That was just a mistake, and everything else is kind of within our usual tolerances that you might expect. Crafting's obviously way down there at the bottom. I didn't sit and grind crafting for 12 hours. Instead, I sat and was grinding Barbarian Assault for 12 hours. More stuff to walk through here. The loot. Slow scroll through here. Not so slow scroll. Just pause it if you really want to look at it. Take a look at random events. That was my random event. I have so many strange plants. It's ridiculous. I'm sick of it. Give me another genie. Very, very close to 15 hunter here. Here's the bank. We got that rune pouch. I'm just gonna leave this here. It's not actually new, but I like putting it there. Games necklace that I actually used to teleport with. A U seed. The granite body is actually a gigantic upgrade over the rune chain, and is awesome because it's also better than a rune plate body, which we can't wear because we can't do Dragon Slayer 1. I got a maple sapling. I got one basket of oranges, and I can't replace that right now because the shop that sold it in Polnivniche is out of stock forever, or at least until I'm able to complete that chunk. And I filled up some of the old prayer potions. So we got 2 from the Calphite Queen, and I filled up another one. So not a lot of new items this cycle. I'm going to clean this up. All right, let's do the bank scroll here. And finally, we'll do the bank comparison. Yeah, runes still looking real solid. Super happy about the current state of runes. Addy arrows up by 3,000. That should be going up by a comparable amount every cycle from now on, which is really nice. Coins down by 33k. I do have to spend a lot of coins every cycle on buying out the Rundoku box and buying out planks and stuff. I'm hoping that's going to start to improve as I can do more adamant swords at the Giant's Foundry. I also spent a ton of money this cycle on the granite plate body. That was like 90k. So I think I'm still generally infinite on coins. Okay, I think that's everything to summarize. Let's roll the chunk. Okay, here's the chunk picker. Let's talk about things that have changed. Over here on either side of Barbarian's Assault, this would be a pretty sucky chunk to roll. Hey, it's Future Marstead. That change we talked about last episode for quests will not apply until episode 46 because these had already been recorded. So I'm going to talk about these chunks as though they're a problem because they have quests in them, and they won't actually be a problem after episode 46. It contains the quest Horror from the Deep, which I don't think I'm going to be able to do because I need to get this chunk over here. And otherwise, there's not a lot interesting here if I can't do that quest, so that would be a bummer to roll that one. Baxtorian Falls is kind of interesting. We can't do it because Waterfall Quest starts there, and we need a whole bunch of chunks to do that. But, you know, I think we can maybe start Barbarian Fishing. I think we can get to Auto and do that. It's still, I would say it's pretty low priority for me. I'm not particularly pumped about it. Other newly rollable chunks are POH portals. I decided that since I have plenty of money, I can afford to move my house multiple times, and I have plenty of law runes I can afford to teleport. We're going to go ahead and add the POH teleports that I don't already have. So Fremetic is one of those. This is actually a reroll chunk. I already have access to dead trees. I get flax from the Beekeeper random, oaks, and regular trees. I've killed wolves before, but technically there's nothing new in this chunk. And we already have a POH portal. So getting this would be outstanding because it would get us to Fremetic, it would get us closer to Keldagrim, which would be huge for the account. More content in general, and it's a reroll. I'm calling it a gold reroll. That would be phenomenal if we got that. Another POH is Yanil. This one would be a little suckier. We can't do the Hand in the Sand or Watchtower, so we wouldn't be able to finish it. There is a hunter shop, but it's not quite in this chunk. It's right next to this chunk. So I guess the main advantage of getting this would just be getting closer to like Tree Gnome Village and some content over in that area. But not particularly pumped about this one. I'm as unexcited about this as I am excited for Relica potentially. Note, Hosidius is not rollable because you need to have visited Zeo once in order for that portal to be, for you to move your house there. So whenever we roll one of these two chunks, then this will become a rollable chunk because we'll be able to move our house there. The last one is Taverley, which of course I want really bad because of Herblore. I actually can't finish unlocking Herblore right away there. I also need South Taverley, but it's one of the two chunks I need, and that would be gigantic for the account. I think we could immediately get like high 50s, low 60s Herblore as soon as we unlock that. So praying for Taverley, that would be delightful. Everything else I think I've covered in prior episodes. If it's gold, I want it. If it's silver, I want it. If it's bronze, I want it. Crown is the most. Star is the second most. Heart is the third most, and kind of descending from there. So Antrana is still kind of my number one most wanted chunk. I can finish Lost City, and there's just all kinds of stuff I can do if I can get to Antrana. So praying for that one. Let's go ahead and pick the chunk and see what we get here. The whammies. Okay, Remington. This is less impactful. I had it as my second most wanted chunk. That was because of the house portal primarily, but there is other interesting stuff going on here. I think we can do all of Witch's Potion here. So it's not going to be a reroll chunk. There is a quest. It's going to be required for Animal Magnetism, but there's a lot of chunks required for Animal Magnetism, so I'm not doing that anytime soon. I don't know if I can get to the still or whatever to make lanterns, but that's not like huge for the account necessarily. There's an archery shop here. Can I complete this chunk? I can kill the goblins, Anya. We can do Witch's Potion. Probably pick up all the items. The general store and a crafting store. I want to look at what they have there. It's an easy stash, but I can build that. I can mine all of their rocks. I can chop all of the trees that are here. No, I think I can complete this, which means that I can access those shops, and I don't have to chop all these trees afterward, which is going to be nice. Yeah, so I think I had this as a higher priority. I should probably re-look at priority now since some of these have degraded. This was way more exciting before I got Polden of Neech. Now that I have Polden of Neech, I guess it's nice because it's not that far of a walk from a bank. Whereas if I want to bank from over here, I have to like take the flying carpet to Shantae Pass. I think this may have actually been a better POH because of the proximity to an unnoter, but there might be an unnoter here too. I'm just worried that they're technically in the adjacent chunk. So yeah, Remington, that's a good roll. I'm not mad about it. It gets us closer to this guy, which I think we need for Skippy and the Mogers. Okay, let me look at this shop really quick before I let you go. The general store is not super exciting. All this stuff I already have access to at other locations. Oh, this is huge. Okay, I just stopped killing cows because I didn't have thread, but now there's a crafting store, the stock of which will refresh every cycle, so I can finally catch back up on thread. That's going to be really important. I'm very glad for that, finally. And the arrow shop would have been impactful if I wasn't gonna, if I hadn't just committed to using Last Man Standing. I could probably buy out 1,500 steel arrows and 1,000 mithril arrows every cycle. They're pretty expensive. It's going to end up costing me more than 32k to get 1,000 mithril arrows. I'll think about it. I think I might be more or less set on arrows now with this LMS solution. But I guess if I'm going to start buying them, I should start buying them now, and then I can maybe save LMS points for rune arrows to turn into money. I'd have to do the calculation on how much cash do I get from the rune arrows versus how many actual arrows do I get for range training. But it's nice to finally have more shops that refresh their stock. So yeah, Remington. We'll see you next episode. Bye, everybody.